Hello, hello. I do believe we are live and in effect, and a little bit different today because, yes, I'm here in my usual space. Evie, however, is on walkabouts in some very hot weather. Evie, great to have you.
Thank you very much for joining me in this crazy setting. But I couldn't miss this. So thank you, Yvonne, for facilitating it. And you know, let's get on with our talk.
Indeed, indeed. So don't be distracted by Eva's sunshine and glow. She's in the I want to say in the excessive heat of Greece. That's where she's at. So I'm telling her it looks glorious. She's telling me it's way too hot. But anyway, we'll get past that and let's get to this week's topic. So we're going to kind of discuss this relationship between isolation and invisibility and really try and decide which one triggers the other, if that is the case, or whether they're two very separate things. And actually, as I was thinking about this, Evie, for me, it's always easy to say, well, have either of those things shown up for me, in which case I can put my hand up and say yes. And, which one was the trigger of the other. So I'll certainly use my story as I share my input. But what's your take?
Well, I think that it depends on the person, but definitely them two are very, very much connected, and. It is like almost like what came first, the chicken or the egg scenario. So in my experience, the more I want to be smaller or invisible, the more I isolate. So it sort of becomes it sort of is that it's not the isolation that brought to me invisibility. It was when I felt the least confident, the least strong, very much challenged, that I would tend to isolate. And I think a lot of people are dealing with this type of scenario.
Yeah, totally hear you. And I think for me, yeah, I think pretty much the same for me because as I was thinking of a situation that and I talk about this time a lot because it is that story that changed the way that I started to live my life. But in that period of time where everything was felt wrong, felt bad, felt difficult, I felt guilty, I felt shameful, I felt all of that stuff that actually um, I wanted to isolate myself. I wanted to isolate myself because I felt so bad and I didn't know how to ask for the help I could be needed. Which, as I've said before, is kind of like bonkers because I come from an inclusive family. I had people that I could have really had very meaningful conversations with, but because I was feeling so bad within myself, and because that was wrapped up in all the guilt and everything else that was going on inside of me, I didn't even know how to have that conversation. I didn't know where to start with that conversation. And so, as a consequence of that, as a consequence of not opening up, of not actually sharing what was going on inside of me, all I did was just step more and more into, and I don't want to say inside me in a good way, I just stepped further away from people and began to isolate myself. I can remember a particular day when a couple of friends literally phoned me almost one after the other, and I just didn't pick my phone up. I just thought I can't speak with you right now. I just felt like I just needed to be in my own head in that moment, and I was very much in my head. Um, and of course, when you start to do that, again, so kind of ignoring two calls from friends, at some point, guess what happened? They stopped calling because it's like, well, if she's not answering my calls, she's either not answering because she's too busy or because she doesn't want to talk to me. And so then that sense of invisibility is like, nobody's seeing me, nobody's getting where I'm at, nobody's understanding. And why aren't they? Well, I know why they weren't. I wasn't communicating, but that was not what was coming through at the time. It was almost like I expected everyone to know what I needed without having to tell them what I needed.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, but this is it. Like the moment we really need help, I think this is the moment when we find it really hard to ask for it, and it creates that sense of like, nobody's having like my worries. I'm like becoming very alone in the whole situation, and the more we do that, the more we are like sort of like self-fulfilling the prophecy of like being alone, being isolated, nobody sees me, and so on and so forth. And the thing is that it is really important to reach out at this particular moment. I hear, how you say, like, I want it to be in myself, in my head. And we all do that, but we don't know how harmful it is for us at this particular moment in time to be in our heads, because that's what causes us to think that nobody else goes through what we go through, nobody else cares. And why should we burden them with our things? And it's only until we start um, vocalizing what we're going through that we realize, oh my God, there are so many people out there that are going through the same thing. And this is where, like sharing your story becomes really, really powerful and important, because not only you realize that there are people that, are going through what you're going through, but there are also people that are in their own heads and want to listen to somebody to find out that, there are other people out there that can support and help them. So
Absolutely.
very yeah.
Absolutely. And it's always interesting, isn't it? Because I don't think I've ever been on a webinar or at an event when somebody has stood up, or the person on the stage has shared their story, and then somebody said, "Oh my gosh, that was me." It's just like that sense of relief you suddenly see kind of go around the room, and it's just like, yeah, because we become, and women in particular, we are so good at the cover up act, at holding everything together, and yeah, there's my outside face, but all this crazy stuff that's going on inside of me, no, I'll just hold on to that because it's mine to deal with. And the thing is, when you are somebody who is very capable, if you're somebody who's very successful, even more so, because you just tell yourself, I should have all the answers, I should be able to deal with this is my issue, I'll sort it out. And even if you do ask for help, you probably ask for it in a way that doesn't translate very well to the recipient. Therefore, you don't get it. And all that does is add credibility to the fact that nobody wants to support you and help you anyway. And so that you just keep on spinning in that same space. And it's so damaging. It erodes confidence. It erodes your self-belief because you're not getting to the answer. It really does pull you away from connecting with people. And the reality is, even if you think that you're a lone wolf, we as human beings are designed for connection. Lone wolf or otherwise, we are designed for connection. And that's why we have tribes. That's why that need to be part of a community. All of those things are essential. It's about finding the right one, of course, where we know we can be true and honest and share what's truly going on without fear of judgment or being put down or being told we're stupid and all of that other stuff. And I think sometimes that in and of itself becomes a barrier to opening up. If I tell someone, they're just going to think I'm stupid, or they're going to say, "Well, that's your own fault. Go figure it." You know. So, and we have to be really aware. So those of us who may hear that when somebody's trying to tell us something, is that we do not fall into that. You know, that we listen wholeheartedly and without judgment. Because the minute we start judging somebody, you know, all we're doing is we're giving them permission to go further into their shell. We're not helping them. We're not supporting them. We're not changing anything. And certainly now, like in my work, and I know in your work, Evi, I am here to help, to support, guide. I have not got I do not create space for judgment. And who the hell am I to judge anyway?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we're definitely not judging
It's
that.
very noisy.
Oh,
It's very noisy.
tall. Sorry about
That's better.
that. So is it easier to hear me now?
Yes.
Oh my God, it's windy as well as sunny. I
Yeah.
don't know. Not here.
It's the wind.
Wind. So what I was saying is that judging is not helping anyone. Of course, not the person that is judged, but not even the one that judges, because usually judgment starts from self, and we tend to judge the stuff that we don't like in our own self, and very few of us understand that concept, and until we get to that understanding, it is very easy to be involved in that vicious cycle of really, pointing out things that we don't like in others, that in reality we don't like in ourselves. And that isolates us even further. And I do agree so much in the things that you were saying earlier with regards to community. Some people, take loneliness or like being alone as like a good thing for them, because that's what they want to do and how they want to be. And I don't want to discount that. I'm sure there are moments for that as well, and times for that. And my dad used to say that being alone can be a blessing, because when you ask for it, when you want it. But being alone can be a real curse if it comes to you unsolicited in a way. So that is a very big thing to consider. And there is time to be alone. I think the best time to be alone is when you're strong and you know that you have things figured out as much as possible, of course. But when you feel invisible, when you feel vulnerable, that's not the time to be alone. That is the time to be in community and to be supported and to be amplified and to do the same thing for others. Because sometimes also, by helping somebody else in their own invisibility, you help yourself, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think that that whole thing around. I mean, I've always thought of alone and lonely for me as two very separate things. You know, when I want to be alone, I am choosing. I am
Right.
choosing to have time with me. That is a choice. When I'm feeling lonely, it's that sense of being cut off from people, which brings up a whole different set of emotions, internally. It's really feeling like nobody's here for me. And that is a very different feeling in the body, which then brings around very different actions, how we show up. And I think that whole point of how that links into the invisibility is, if you feel that nobody is supporting you, if you don't feel like anybody's hearing you, it's very easy then to feel like I don't even know if I exist. And that can often feel even worse if you're the type of person who can automatically see when somebody else is not in a good state. Like if you're really good at doing that, you almost expect other people are the same. And so why isn't somebody seeing it for me? But everyone is not the same. And not everybody is great at spotting when somebody is not in a great space, which is why, I mean, to me, fundamentally, it comes down to our ability to communicate, to be able to be honest to ourselves that I need help. And even if that help is just somebody's set of ears, I just need to find the right set of ears to rest this on. And that's and I was actually on a webinar yesterday, and it was saying about the importance of having a confidant. Who is that person? You don't go to them because you want to fix things. You don't want them to fix things. They're not your fixer. They are your confidant. Who is that person who you know in that time of stress, in need? I know I can talk to this person, and I know that all they'll do is listen. And right now, that's all I need. I just need that. And that support alone will stop me from feeling alone. It will give me an opportunity to take what's running around in my head at 2,000 miles an hour out of my head. And that will give me space to have some clarity, to really understand what might be going on. And yes, that person might offer me some insights. Fantastic. But they might not. They may just be that sounding board. They may just be holding the space. And that is all I need. But we all need it. And let's not fool ourselves here. I don't care how successful you are, we are. I don't care how capable you are, how resourceful you are. We all need a confidant. We all need someone or a community of people that we can sit in and talk about the stuff that really matters.
It is remarkable, as you say, having that ear. And the people that are in high places, in power or whatever, they understand that. They know that. That's why they all have coaches and coaches of various kinds, and they offer different kind of support, just for that particular reason, because they understand the importance of not doing things alone or bouncing their own ideas of somebody, even if they don't know their industry. But it gives them, by having that ear, it helps their own productivity or imagination or growth in
Yes.
to the extent that they can actually do their own work much better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definitely what you're saying is like 100% important for every single one of us.
Yeah.
And
it's
I even
interesting.
coaches, right?
Sorry, what was that, Evi?
And I said, that's why even coaches have coaches, right?
You know, I was just about to say that. I was just about to say, and needless to say, that coaches also need coaches, right? Because we too get stuck in our own head. That's the truth. So, you know, it doesn't matter where you are. I remember listening to Tony Robbins once, and he was, you know, and I love Tony Robbins. I love his energy. I love what he puts out in the world. I do. I'm a fan. So, but I remember him saying, you know, he has someone, you know, whether it was a coach or a mentor, I can't quite remember, but he has someone, because we all need someone. It's an absolute necessity, because otherwise, if we don't, we get stuck. We get stuck in ourselves, and not in a helpful way. And that feeling of being stuck stops us from progressing, stops us from growing, stops us from expressing ourselves, stops us from reaching our potential. It just becomes this barrier, this block for everything that we're actually here to do. Because, you know, I say this time and time again, we are all here to be brilliant in whatever the thing is we are brilliant at. And if we do not allow ourselves to come out of places of isolation, come out of those places of disconnect, come out of that invisibility, not only are we not fulfilling our own brilliance and purpose, we're also not serving the people who are sat back waiting for it, because somebody's sitting and waiting to hear what we have to say, what each of us has.
Definitely. And, you know, like, this is why we all understand that the personal growth is not like a something that comes to an end at some point. It doesn't. It's a constant growth. And what Tony Robbins says, like we do reach a plateau, and then we need to do the same steps that we did before to get off that plateau and move to the next one. But there is always a next plateau. So that's why we need the support. That's why we need to get out of our own invisibility and ask for the help. And nowadays, the good thing is that there are so many people, whether they are mentors or coaches, that can like help you, reach the next thing so much faster, because they understand the techniques, they have the frameworks, or whatever else you might need at every moment in time. Not everyone is for everyone, as we know, but the truth is that there is someone for you. So don't go it alone. That's the whole point.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And for anyone who may be listening, or or listens at some point, if you can relate to any of that feeling of being stuck, if you can relate to any of those feelings of being isolated or being invisible, now is the time to do something to get out of that state. Now is the time to reach out to someone for the help that you require. We are not meant to stay stuck. As Evi has very eloquently just said, we all plateau. There comes a point where we kind of plateau out, and when we plateau, we may feel like I've got nothing left to give, or no one's really responding to what I'm saying and doing, and so we start to step back. No, it's an opportunity then to reach out and get the support that you need to get back to elevating. And I want to say, I want to kind of add to that, this thing about elevating and plateauing. It's not about you're never enough. You're always enough. You're enough just being here. So let me just add that you're enough just being here. This is not elevating and because you're not enough. That is your enoughness is done. That's a signed piece of paper already done. But this is about your ability to grow into that potential that is within you, and whether you feel it or not, acknowledge it or not, it exists. It absolutely exists. But the only way for it to be revealed fully is really that willingness to say, well, I'm not going to stay invisible. I'm going to be visible. I'm going to utilize my voice. I'm going to use my skills. I'm going to step up, even if it feels uncomfortable, embarrassing, and all of that stuff. It's just like, because I'm going to ensure I have the support that I need that enables me to do that. And I think that is also important.
I think that this is a big misconception that we are in personal growth because we're not enough. We might not be where we want to be, but being enough, as you said, is a given. It's not something that we can contest in any form or way. If we feel we're not enough, that's something that we need to work on. We need to figure out. But that is only because of conditioning. It has nothing to do with self, really. So I really love the fact that you brought this up, because sometimes people get into this space because they want to get better. Starting from I'm not good enough, so I need to get better. But that's not really. That's only like a misconception. The brilliance is in the imperfection of all of us, I suppose.
Absolutely.
And and also in seeing the possibility. That's the thing. Being able to see what's possible for each one of us, nothing else really, and it, whatever we want is possible. So that's also something to consider. Just food for thought, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to share just a couple of things for people to be aware you're feeling, um, I'm just trying to find the right words that I want to use as opposed to what I'm looking at. If you feel like abandoned by people, or if you're feeling like people are missing your pain or ignoring your pain, the question that you need to come back to yourself is, why am I expecting them to know that I'm in pain? What is that expectation that's coming up for me about them being able to know that I'm even in pain, or that I need help, or that I'm struggling with something? Because as much as we like to think people are noticing stuff all the time, I'll tell you now, more often than not, they're not. Because most people are stuck in their own heads, in their own space of stuff. So it's really easy to be missing the cues that are coming from other people. So we have that responsibility to speak up ourselves and to say what is going on. And if you find yourself, and in terms of isolation, if you find yourselves pulling away from groups, pulling away from friends, not responding when you're being invited into things, again, just stop and think, what is going on with me? Why am I isolating myself? What is it that I am either trying to keep to myself, or that is disabling me from being part of something? We need to ask ourselves those questions, because those things don't happen just by pure chance. There's usually something going on. So that's a little bit of self-coaching that we can do, and just, why am I responding in this way? What is it that I am trying to hide or push away, or don't want to be responsible for? We need to ask ourselves those questions, because that stuff is going on also. I certainly know when I've been through those sorts of things and I've had those moments, I've had to come back and circle back. Well, hold on a minute, I'm putting it all out there like it's somebody else's fault for not seeing and hearing and doing. What is it that I'm not doing? What is it that I'm ignoring? What is it that is so painful that I don't even want to talk about, that I'm pushing people away? That's the stuff we need to recognize.
Absolutely. And the thing is that we can see these things so much more on others than we can see it on ourselves. Because as you say, I have a different type of take. It's like, I'm okay. I'm strong enough. I can take this. I don't need anybody. I've done it before. I'll do it again. I'll put my head down and push and push. And when you realize that there isn't, there is a better way than just pushing and getting stressed and getting anxious about things and feeling that you're the only one that is driving a situation. And when you realize that pulling is better, then I think that you need to ask the hard questions first from yourself. You need to ask them and see, like Yvonne, you said it so lovely. Like, say, why don't I want to talk about something? Why is that making me shut down? Those answers will be very important for your next steps. They might sound a bit hard, but they are very important for the next steps, because these are going to be your like the thing where you're going to how do you call this, like a trampoline where you're going to just step on that in your lowest and jump up and do something different, something that is going to serve you better.
Absolutely. I like that. The trampoline. Step on the trampoline. Brilliant. Yeah, and I can almost guarantee that the things that you don't want to talk about are the really difficult things, the things that are bringing up some sort of pain, some sort of they are important, and because they're important, they must be discussed. And whether that's with a confidant, whether it's with a community, whether it's with another person who is part of what is going on, whatever that is, is, that ability that we have to just play it down, ignore, suppress. This is the stuff that makes our health go down the pan. This is the stuff that damages us from the inside out. We cannot keep on doing this. It is healthy. It's not to be encouraged, and it's not okay, regardless of whether society tells us it's the way to go or not. It is not the way to go, and I will put my absolute stamp on that is not okay for us to do, and I'll take all the pushback that comes from that.
I agree with you 100%. And, if there is any pushback, please let us know. I mean, that's the whole point. Let's discuss it. Let's find out why you think otherwise.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we're 30 minutes in. That wind sounds like it's picking up where you are, Evie.
I'm so sorry. Next one is going to be in a studio, all closed up.
Hey, do not apologize for being where you are. You made it online. I'm delighted that you were able to even get the connection and be online. So thank you so much for showing up as always. And thank you for everyone who has tuned in. Final word, Evie?
Well, keep looking in order to look out.
Yes. Keep looking in order to look out. And I think for me, the final word is, in the midst of all of this, it comes down to our ability and our willingness to communicate, and finding the sources where we can do that in a what feels like a safe space. So communicate in a safe space, whatever that looks like to you. Do not allow isolation and invisibility to become part of who you are, because they are not who you are.
100%.
Awesome. Brilliant.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Thank you, everybody.
Day ahead for everybody. Evie, I will catch up with you later.
Okay. Take care. Bye. Bye.